Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about life, we talk about dreams, relationships, health, growth, and legacy. And when we talk about money, we talk about freedom, choices, security, and opportunity. The truth is, life and money are not separate lanes running in different directions. They are connected, intertwined, and constantly influencing one another. The way you view money will define the way you live your life. Money itself is neutral. It is not good and it is not bad. It is a mirror that reflects your priorities. If you value experiences, money will fund them. If you value growth, money will accelerate it. If you value security, money will protect you, but here is the mistake many people make. They chase money as if money is the end goal, and what happens? They wake up one day with a full bank account but an empty life. That is not success. Success is when you learn to use money as a vehicle to design the life you truly want. Think about it. Every major decision in life has a financial angle. Where you live, the schools your children attend, the opportunities you can grab, the freedom to take risks, all of this is influenced by money, and the more you take control of your finances, the more control you gain over your destiny. But let me be clear, money alone will not bring happiness. What it brings is freedom. Freedom to spend your time on things that matter, freedom to say yes to opportunities, and freedom to say no to things that drain you. Without money, even the most passionate dreams can feel limited. With money aligned to your purpose, those same dreams become unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, life is too short to waste in financial stress, and it is too precious to waste chasing money without meaning. The balance lies in creating both, a life you love and the money to support it. When you master that relationship, you stop working just for survival and start living with intention. So ask yourself today, what do I want my money to do for my life? Am I using it as a tool to create impact, joy, and growth? Or am I letting it control me? Because at the end of the day, the true measure of wealth is not just how much you earn, but how well you live. When we think about money, most people see it as the ultimate prize. They grow up hearing phrases like, if I just had more money, everything would be okay, or once I'm rich, I'll finally be happy. But here's the truth, money is not the destination. It is not the finish line. It is not the trophy at the end of the race. Money is simply a tool, a resource, a multiplier that enhances the quality of your life. It is not meant to define who you are, and it is not meant to control your identity. Think about it this way. If you hand someone a hammer, the hammer itself is not powerful. It just lies there, lifeless, until someone decides to use it. But once that person picks it up, they can use that hammer to build a home, to create something meaningful, or to tear something down. The hammer is neutral. It only does what the person holding it decides. Money works in exactly the same way. By itself, money is nothing more than paper, numbers on a screen, or coins in your hand. But in the right hands, with the right mindset, it can build schools, fund businesses, create freedom, and change lives. The danger comes when people mistake money for the destination. They chase after it without asking the deeper question, why do I want this money? What do I intend to do with it? That's why so many people end up unfulfilled even after achieving financial success. They believed that money itself would deliver happiness, but happiness doesn't come from what you own. It comes from what you do with what you own. Happiness comes from meaning, from purpose, from contribution, and from alignment with your values. Money enhances life. It gives you better opportunities, better health care, better education, better experiences. But it cannot replace the core elements of a fulfilling life. It cannot give you love. It cannot create passion. It cannot manufacture purpose. What it can do is give you the freedom and the space to pursue those things without restriction. That's why the way you view money is everything. If you treat it as a master, it will enslave you. If you treat it as a servant, it will empower you. Now, let's look at real life. There are countless stories of people who sacrificed everything in the pursuit of money. They worked endless hours, neglected relationships, ignored their health, and one day they found themselves wealthy but lonely, successful in business but bankrupt in life. On the other hand, there are people who earn less but live more. They treat money as a means to live a life of balance, joy, and impact. They are rich, not because their bank account is overflowing, but because their life is overflowing with meaning. The point here is not to say that money doesn't matter. Of course, money matters. Money pays the bills, money puts food on the table, money allows you to dream bigger. But when you begin to see money as the end goal, you lose sight of why you wanted it in the first place. Think about it. If money was the ultimate measure of happiness, every wealthy person in the world would be completely fulfilled. Yet we know that's not the case. Fulfillment doesn't come from money. It comes from living a life where money serves your values, not the other way around. This is why financial goals should always be tied to life goals. Don't just set a target like I want to earn $1 million. Instead, ask yourself, what will that $1 million allow me to do? What kind of life will it help me create? Maybe it means more time with your family. Maybe it means funding a cause you care about. Maybe it means traveling the world. Maybe it means creating generational security for your children. Whatever it is, it has to be bigger than just the number in the bank account. When you make this shift, when you stop chasing money as the destination and start treating it as the tool, you gain clarity. Suddenly, you're no longer working endless hours just to add zeros to your balance. You're working with intention, knowing that each dollar is fuel for your purpose. Suddenly, money stops being stressful because it no longer defines your worth. You are not your income. You are not your salary. You are not your possessions. You are the meaning you give to those resources, the values you live by, and the impact you create with them. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between life and money is simple yet powerful. Money enhances life, but it should never define it. It's the car that gets you to your destination, not the destination itself. It's the fuel for your journey, not the journey itself. And the moment you understand that truth, you take back control. You stop being a victim of money, and you start being the driver of your life. You recognize that wealth is not about how much you have, but how well you use it to design a life of freedom, joy, and purpose. That is when money becomes what it was always meant to be. Not a master, not a measure of your identity, but a powerful tool in your hands to build a life worth living. Life at its core is a series of choices. From the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep, every decision we make shapes the direction of our lives. Some choices seem small: what to eat, what to wear, how to spend a free hour. Others are life, defining where to live, who to marry, whether to start a business, or what risks to take. And if we are being honest, many of those choices are directly influenced by money. Money does not guarantee happiness, but it absolutely expands your menu of options. The more financially free you are, the more control you have over the direction of your life. Think about it for a moment. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, your choices shrink. You are often forced into survival decisions, not empowered decisions. You stay in a job you hate because you can't afford to leave. You pass up opportunities because the financial risk feels too heavy. You say no to experiences because the price tag is out of reach. And over time, life begins to feel less like a journey of choice and more like a prison of circumstances. That's the reality for millions of people, not because they lack dreams, but because they lack the financial freedom to pursue them. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine having the resources to say yes more often, to say yes to traveling the world, yes to starting your own business, yes to spending more time with family, yes to pursuing education or passion projects. Financial freedom doesn't mean you buy everything you see. It means you have the power to decide. It means you live life on your terms instead of life deciding for you. That's the true gift of money. It unlocks options, and options unlock freedom. This is why building a healthy relationship with money is so important. Too many people see money as an enemy or as a burden, but the reality is that money is neutral until you direct it. If you use money wisely, if you discipline yourself to save, invest, and grow it, money will create a safety net that allows you to take risks in life, And the greater your safety net, the bolder your choices become. Think about entrepreneurs. The ones who take the leap into building their dream companies often have financial preparation behind them. They have savings, investments, or systems in place that allow them to take risks without losing everything. The person who has no financial cushion will hesitate to take those same leaps. Why? Because without money, the cost of failure feels too great. Financial stability gives you the confidence to bet on yourself because you know that even if one door closes, you still have the resources to open another. But here's what's powerful. You don't need to be a millionaire to have financial freedom. You don't need to have every luxury car or own multiple properties. Financial freedom is about alignment. It's about designing a life where your money supports your choices, not restricts them. For some, that may mean earning just enough to cover their needs while still having time freedom. For others, it may mean creating wealth to fund larger visions and legacies. The amount doesn't matter as much as the control. The key question is, are you living the life you want, or is your financial situation forcing you into choices you never really wanted? We all know people who have sacrificed their dreams because of money. They wanted to travel but couldn't afford the tickets. They wanted to study abroad but couldn't pay tuition. They wanted to spend more time with family, but bills forced them into overtime. Every time money limits your options, it chips away at your potential. And the longer that continues, the easier it becomes to settle for a life that feels safe but unfulfilling. But when you shift your relationship with money, when you decide to take control instead of being controlled, everything changes. You begin to view money as a tool to expand your choices, not as an obstacle. You save not just for security, but for freedom. You invest not just for growth, but for opportunity, and slowly the choices available to you begin to multiply. Suddenly, you don't have to take the first job offered. You can choose the job that aligns with your vision. You don't have to say no to experiences. You can choose the ones that light up your soul. You don't have to live where circumstances force you. You can choose where you want to belong. Ladies and gentlemen, life without choice is survival. Life with choice is freedom, and money, when used wisely, is the bridge between the two. The goal is not to let money define your life, but to let it expand it. The more financially free you are, the more empowered you become to design a life of intention, purpose, and joy. Remember, your life is the sum of your choices, and your choices are shaped by the resources you control. When money is managed with vision, it becomes the greatest tool for building the life you've always imagined. Ladies and gentlemen, balance is one of the most misunderstood concepts when it comes to the relationship between life and money. People often swing to extremes. Either they chase money so relentlessly that they forget to actually live, or they romanticize the idea of life without money and end up trapped in limitation. The truth is, neither extreme works. Chasing money without living fully leaves you empty. Ignoring money altogether keeps you stuck, unable to access opportunities that could bring fulfillment. The key is balance, because a meaningful life requires both stability and experience, both resources and joy. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle. Everywhere you turn, you hear messages like work harder, grind longer, sacrifice everything now so you can enjoy later. And yes, discipline and hard work are important. But what is the point of working 20 hours a day if you never get to enjoy the life you're building? What is the point of building wealth if you don't have the health to enjoy it, the time to spend it, or the relationships to share it with? On the other side, some people reject money altogether, saying things like, "I don't care about wealth, I just want to live a simple life." But without money, even simplicity becomes stressful, bills don't disappear. Emergencies still happen. Dreams still require funding. Money may not buy happiness, but the lack of money can surely limit it. Balance is about recognizing that money is fuel for your life, not the entire journey. It should support your lifestyle, not consume it. When you focus only on accumulation, you sacrifice presence. You spend years saying someday, without realizing that someday may never come. People who wait until retirement to finally travel, to finally rest, to finally live, often discover that their energy or their health no longer allows it. On the other hand, those who live only for the moment, spending recklessly without planning, often find themselves trapped later by debts and limitations. Both extremes rob you of true freedom, so how do you find balance? It begins with clarity. You must ask yourself what kind of life you actually want. Do you want more time with family? Do you want to contribute to your community? Do you want to travel, learn, and grow? Once you know what you value, you align your financial goals with those values. Money then becomes a tool to support your life, not dominate it. For example, if your goal is to spend more time with your children, then chasing promotions that demand 80-hour work weeks may not serve you, even if the paycheck is bigger. But if your goal is to create generational wealth, then making certain sacrifices today may align with your vision. Balance looks different for everyone, but it always comes down to intentional alignment between your money and your life. It also requires discipline. Balance is not about perfect equality, where you split time and energy evenly between money and life. It's about seasons. There will be seasons when you need to push harder financially, and there will be seasons when you need to slow down and live more fully. The mistake is staying stuck in one season forever. If you're always chasing, you miss living. If you're always living without planning, you miss building. Balance is knowing when to push and when to pause. Another piece of balance is gratitude. Sometimes we are so focused on what we don't have financially that we forget what we already have in life. You might not be a millionaire, but maybe you have strong relationships, good health, and opportunities others only dream of. Gratitude allows you to enjoy the present while still working toward the future. It helps you see that life is not waiting for money to arrive. It is happening right now, and money is just one element of it. The danger of imbalance is that it robs you of either joy or freedom. Too much focus on money robs you of joy because you delay life for the sake of numbers. Too little focus on money robs you of freedom because you limit your ability to choose. The sweet spot is where you build steadily while living intentionally, where your financial growth supports your life instead of replacing it. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between life and money is not about choosing one over the other. It is about weaving them together so that they strengthen each other. When you work, you should be building toward the life you envision. When you live, you should enjoy the fruits of the work you've done. That balance ensures that you are not only surviving but thriving, not only existing but experiencing. At the end of the day, money and life are not enemies fighting for your attention. They are partners, and when you treat them as such, you create a life of both security and fulfillment. Ladies and gentlemen, your mindset about money is one of the most powerful forces shaping your life. The way you think, believe, and act around money directly influences the lifestyle you build. People often assume wealth is only about numbers, income levels, or luck, but the truth is, wealth begins in the mind. If you see money as scarce, hard to get, and limited, then that belief will drive your behaviors and keep you small. If you see money as abundant, as something that grows when used wisely, then your actions will reflect expansion and opportunities will begin to multiply. Your financial reality is a reflection of your money mindset. Many people grow up hearing negative stories about money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. These words plant seeds in your subconscious that shape how you view wealth. If deep down you believe money is evil, you will sabotage yourself whenever opportunities to grow appear. If you believe money is always scarce, you will cling to every dollar, too afraid to invest, too afraid to take risks, too afraid to grow. But when you shift your mindset and start seeing money as a tool for freedom and impact, everything changes. Suddenly, you give yourself permission to earn more, save more, and invest more, not out of fear, but out of vision. Discipline is the bridge between mindset and results. It's not enough to simply think positively about money. You must back it up with habits that align with abundance. People with strong money mindsets don't just spend impulsively, they plan. They don't see saving as deprivation, they see it as empowerment. They don't view investing as risky, they view it as planting seeds for the future. They are intentional, not reactive. That's why two people with the same income can live completely different lifestyles, because one manages their money with vision, while the other lets money slip through their fingers without a plan. Creating abundance in your life also comes from understanding value. Money flows to those who create value for others. If you want more income, the question is not, how do I get more money, but how do I create more value? The moment you shift from chasing money to solving problems, from demanding more to delivering more, you step into the mindset that attracts abundance. This is why entrepreneurs, creators, and leaders often find wealth. They focus on contribution, and money becomes the byproduct of their impact. But mindset is not just about how you earn, it's about how you spend. When your mindset is rooted in fear, you spend recklessly to fill emotional voids. You buy to impress, to compete, or to escape. But when your mindset is rooted in abundance, you spend strategically. You invest in your growth, in your health, in your relationships, in experiences that enrich your life. You stop asking, "Can I afford this right now?" and start asking, "Will this purchase move me closer to the life I want?" That simple shift transforms money from a source of stress into a tool of empowerment. One of the greatest lies people believe is that money itself will change their mindset. They think, once I have more, I'll think differently. But it's the opposite. You must change your mindset first, and the money will follow. If you cannot manage $1000 wisely, you will not magically manage $10,000. If you cannot create discipline with $50,000, you will not suddenly become responsible with $500,000. The habits you build today reflect the mindset you hold, and those habits are what determine whether money grows or disappears. It is also important to recognize that your environment shapes your money mindset. If you surround yourself with people who constantly complain about money, who believe wealth is unattainable, who live in survival mode, then their mindset will infect yours. But if you spend time around people who dream bigger, who manage their finances with purpose, who view wealth as a tool for freedom and impact, you will naturally elevate your standards. That's why community matters. Wealthy people don't just hang out with other wealthy people by accident. They understand that mindsets are contagious, and they choose to be influenced by those who encourage growth. At the end of the day, the relationship between your mindset and your lifestyle is undeniable. If your thoughts about money are small, your life will be small. If your thoughts about money are expansive, your life will be expansive. The discipline to manage money, the vision to grow it, and the courage to use it wisely all flow from what you believe is possible. The good news is that mindset is not fixed. You can reprogram your beliefs, you can create new habits, and you can shift the way you see money starting today. Ladies and gentlemen, money itself does not change lives. Mindset does. But when you combine the right mindset with intentional action, you create abundance that transforms not just your finances, but your entire lifestyle. The way you think about money will always shape the way you live, and when you master that, you unlock a life of freedom, growth, and fulfillment. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about wealth, many people immediately think of numbers in a bank account, luxury cars, or expensive houses. But true wealth is far deeper than material possessions. True wealth is when your financial stability aligns with your life goals, your fulfillment, and your purpose. It is not just about having money. It is about what that money allows you to experience, create, and give. Success is not measured only by dollars, but by how well those dollars support the life you truly want to live. Financial stability is essential. Without it, life often feels stressful and uncertain. Bills pile up, opportunities are missed, and decisions are made from fear rather than vision. Stability creates the foundation. It's the soil from which your dreams can grow. But if all you have is stability without fulfillment, life can feel flat. You may be secure, but you're not inspired. That is why true wealth requires both sides, stability that protects you and fulfillment that excites you. Together, they create a life that feels rich in every sense of the word. Think of financial stability as the roots of a tree. They keep you grounded, secure, and strong during storms. Without roots, the tree cannot stand, but fulfillment is the branches and the fruit. It is the visible expression of growth, the part that feeds you and inspires others. You cannot have a thriving tree with only roots, and you cannot have one with only branches. Both are necessary. In the same way, money and fulfillment must work together if you want to live a life of true wealth. We often see people who focus entirely on money. They sacrifice health, relationships, and joy in pursuit of more. They believe once they hit a certain number, life will magically become fulfilling. Yet when they arrive at that financial milestone, they realize something is missing. They are stable, but not happy. On the other side, we see people who chase fulfillment without caring about financial stability. They follow passions without planning, spend without saving, and live in the moment without preparing for the future. At first it feels free, but soon the lack of stability brings stress, limits choices, and blocks growth. Both extremes show us the same lesson. Money without fulfillment is empty, and fulfillment without money is fragile. True wealth is when money fuels your fulfillment. Imagine being financially free enough to spend more time with family, to travel, to invest in your health, to support causes you care about. Imagine using your resources to design a lifestyle that reflects your values, not society's expectations. That is what it means for money and fulfillment to align. When you reach that point, every dollar you earn has meaning because it supports something you believe in. But here is the important truth: alignment does not happen by accident. It requires clarity and intention. You must define what fulfillment looks like for you. Is it freedom of time? Is it contribution to others? Is it building a legacy for your children? Without clarity, money becomes aimless. You spend or save without direction, and the result is either emptiness or limitation. But when you know your why, every financial decision has purpose. You save not out of fear, but to create freedom. You invest not just for returns, but for impact. You spend not to impress others, but to enrich your own life. Another key to true wealth is recognizing that fulfillment is not always about more. Many people think wealth means endless accumulation. But often, fulfillment comes from simplicity, from aligning your money with the things that truly matter. It may mean fewer possessions, but richer experiences. It may mean saying no to distractions, so you can say yes to what matters most. When your financial life supports your deepest values, you no longer feel torn between making a living and making a life. You merge them into one. The beauty of this approach is that it transforms how you see money. No longer is money just a source of stress, competition, or status. It becomes a partner. It becomes a servant to your dreams, not a master over your life. And when that happens, you find yourself not only building financial wealth, but also emotional wealth, relational wealth, and spiritual wealth. That is the kind of richness that lasts. Ladies and gentlemen, true wealth is not about choosing between financial stability and fulfillment. It is about merging the two. It is about building a strong foundation with money, while also reaching for the joy, purpose, and meaning that make life extraordinary. When you align money with fulfillment, you don't just live rich, you live whole. And that is the greatest wealth of all.